In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this beautiful shirred or smoky dress that has been trending. And the beautiful thing about this video, you can make it long or short depending on how you want it. Also, for this particular dress, you can style it with different sleeve, like the long sleeve that you can see right here or the short sleeve. With that being said, let's get started. Okay, for this tutorial, I use 2 yards of fabric, Ankara fabric for it, and I've gone ahead to cut out piece of fabric. This is for the front and this one is for the back, and I've placed it on fold. Then now what I did was to divide the widest part of my body, which is my hip, by 4. So my hip is 38, dividing it by 4, that's about 9.5, and then I added extra 5 inches to it. And then I did the same thing for the other side. So the total of this is about 14.5 on fold. So that means by the time you open it up, you should have about 29 inches. While the length of it is, you're going to place your measuring tape from where you want the top to start from, which is the chest line. And you measure down to where you want it to stop. So mine is 12.5 inches, and I've done the same thing on the other side. So at this point, I just open this up, and this is what we have right here. Now I'll be taking this to the sewing machine and I'm going to be hemming this. This is completely optional. If you don't want to hem it, you can weave it just like the one on the thumbnail right there. But mine, I hemmed it. So I just hemmed it in such a way that I can pass elastic band through it, okay? This is optional. If you don't want the elastic band, you don't need to hem it. Just weave it and you are good to go. Then after hemming it, this is the elastic thread that I'll be using for this particular tutorial, and I'm going to be rolling the elastic onto the bobbin. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. When you are rolling the elastic, you're not going to be using your sewing machine like we normally do on a normal thread, because this is an elastic and it stretches. So when you are rolling the elastic, you will make sure that you're not stretching it, and you're going to do it as gently as possible. So take your time and roll it and do not stretch it. And then by the time you reach the end, you're just going to cut it out. And now I'm going to be taking everything to the sewing machine, including this fabric. I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to create that smoky effect on this dress. So this is what we have right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put the bobbin through the shuttle, and I'm just going to fix it there, right? While for the upside, which is the part where you are going to pass the thread through the needle, I'm going to be using the normal thread for this, and I'm going to make sure that I'm using a matching thread for this particular one. So at this point, I'm going to start sewing, and I'm going to be sewing very close to the hemmed line. And then when you are sewing, you make sure that you're not stretching your fabric. Just allow the machine to do its work. I normally use the gather stitch when I'm doing this. So I've done the first line and I'm going to do the second one, half an inch away from the first. So if you're a beginner, you may need to draw out the line that you're going to follow, especially if you're not very used to sewing on a straight line. You can just draw half an inch away from each other and follow the line when you are sewing. But I'm quite familiar with half an inch sewing, so I'm just doing this without drawing any line. So as you're sewing, you're going to be sewing it half an inch away from each other, and you are not going to be stretching your fabric, and you're just going to be arranging the front part so that the fabric is not squeezed, okay? You open it up and then you sew on it. But please don't stretch the fabric, just allow the machine to do the sewing. And this is what we have right here. I've done about 3 lines right now, and you can see that the smoky effect is already forming. Okay, so I'll just continue with the process. So you can leave half an inch or 1 inch away from the edge before you sew. So by the time you're done, this is what it looks like. I've done the same thing for the back as well. And we have the back and the front right here. At this point, I've cut out a piece of fabric that I'm going to be using for the down part. Okay, this is the lining, and I use less than half yards of lining for this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to divide the widest part of your body again, which is your hip, by 4, and you're going to add extra 2 inches to it. So what I have here is 12 inches. Mind you, the length of this lining is about 16 inches. That is how long I want the dress to be. If you want yours to be longer, that means you're going to measure from your waistline all the way down to where you want it to stop. If you want it to stop at the knee length or at your ankle, that means you're going to measure from your waistline down to your ankle. At this point, we normally divide our waist measurement by 4. But for this particular tutorial, we are going to be using the hip line because there will be no zip at this for this dress, and we want it to pass through our body. So divide your hip by 4, then you mark it there, and then you add extra 1 inch for sewing allowance. I'm going to do the same thing all the way to the down part of the dress. So just divide your hip by 4 and you mark it and add 1 inch, and then you draw a straight line like this. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the excess. So after you cut it and you open it up, this is what we have right here. So this is the fabric that I'll be using for the gathers. I've cut it out and the length of it is 8 inches. So this is highly dependent on how long you want your dress to be. So mine, I use 8 inches because mine is very short. If you want yours to be longer, that means you should be using 10 inches, 12 inches, or depending on the length that you want, okay? So I'm using 8 inches for mine. While the width of it is your hip measurements plus extra 5 to 10 inches, depending on how full you want the gathers to be. So my hip measurement is 38 plus extra 7 inches, that is about 45 inches. So I just basically use the exact width of my Ankara. Usually Ankara is by 45, so I just use the 45. Mind you, you are going to be having about 6 of this piece, okay? 3 for the front. So for this particular style, you're going to be needing about 6 of these pieces. Like 3 is going to be in front, and then 3 is going to be at the back. So that means you're having 8 inches length and 45 inches. Mind you, if you don't want each of the steps to be the same length, you can make it different. Like the first step can be 6, the second step can be 8, and then the third step can be 10. I used 8 inches on all sides, but I later reduced the first step to 6 inches because I wanted the first step to be shorter than the remaining 2 steps, okay? So after you're done, you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to be running your gather stitch on it. So you're going to run from here all the way to the other side, half an inch away from the top. You're going to run the gather stitch. After you run the gather stitch, you're going to gather it. So at this point, I've gathered the stitches, and this is what we have. I make sure that the gathers is exactly the same width as my lining. So I'm going to do the same thing for the first step, the second step, and I'll do the same thing for the third step. So now I'm just going to be arranging it. The last step, I'm going to make sure exactly where the lining stops, that is where the last step is going to stop. And then the second step is going to be on top of it. The first step will be at the waistline. So just arrange everything, make sure the gathers are even, and then you take it to your sewing machine and you sew it using half an inch sewing allowance on all sides. Then after you're done sewing, this is what it looks like right here. If you don't want to arrange it the way I did mine, you can arrange yours differently. So this is what I have for the first step, the second step, and the third step. And you can also use just 2 steps. If you don't want it to be 3 steps, you can use just 2 steps. The third step is 7 inches away from the lining. The second step is 4 inches away. And then the first step is exactly on the waistline. And now I'm just going to be joining the up part to the down part. So if you notice, the up side is shorter because of the gathers. I'll be showing you how you can be able to join it together. So now just find the midpoint of the smoky part of the dress, just find the midpoint and notch it right then. So after you find the midpoints, another thing I like to do is to find the quarter points, because I want this to be as equal as possible. So I'm going to find the quarter point as well, and I'll find the quarter points on the other side and I'll notch it. I'll do the same thing for the skirt part of the dress. So I'm just going to find the midpoints for this side as well. After I find the midpoints, I'm also going to find the quarter points. So in between the midpoints and the side seam, I'll find the quarter points, and I'll also find the quarter point for the other side as well. So after I'm done like this, I'm just going to be joining the upside to the down part. So I'll align the midpoint of the upside to that of the down, and I'll align it at the side seam as well. So remember, this stretch is okay. So by the time you are sewing, you are going to be stretching it. So align the quarter point together as well, and then when you are sewing, you're going to be stretching it. Then I'll do the same thing. I'll join the side seam of the upside to the side seam of the skirt. I'll pin it down. I'll join the quarter point as well, and I'll pin it down. So at this point, you're going to take it to the sewing machine and you're going to be sewing. So you sew from here to here. So when you are sewing, you're going to be stretching the fabric. Remember, this is an elastic, so you stretch it as you sew. So after you're done, this is what it should look like. So I'm going to do the same thing for the back as well. So after I'm done with the back, this is what the back looks like. So now I'm just going to be joining both sides at the side seam. So I'm going to join the back to the front at the side seam. So I'm going to sew from the chest line all the way to the waistline and then down to the hemline. So when you're sewing, make sure that everything is aligning. The first step of the back and the front aligns, the second step aligns, and the third step aligns, and also the waistline. Let everything align, and you're going to do the same thing the other side of the dress as well. So by the time you're done, this is what it looks like. Make sure you weave this, okay? You can even use a white thread like in the thumbnail, and you can use different sleeve of your choice. There are so many sleeves you can use for this tube dress, especially something that you can be comfortable with, okay? That's basically all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.